Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Chris and I run a small 3D printing business in my basement. Today, I want to challenge the norms of what business should look like, show you how you can start something like this for less than $500 and how you can do it sustainably and have fun along the way. Let's get going. Before we get into the meat and taters of today's episode, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who helps support this channel. Last week, we just launched the official Patreon for Off the Bench, and I had several people go over there and help support the work we do here. I always say we, but it's actually just me. I have to put out these videos each week trying to give you guys a behind the scenes look at what it looks like to start a business, all the ups and downs, and it's been a ton of fun since we launched the channel back in last fall. If you're interested in this type of content, feel free to like and subscribe, drop a comment if you have questions, and let's get back to the video. The first step to starting a business like this is mindset. To better understand this, let's first frame what we typically think of when starting a business through a cultural lens. And I think Shark Tank is the best way to do this. In Shark Tank, you have somebody who comes in with a unique invention, typically a patented product or idea. They're giving this idea to potential investors who are willing to put in hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into their business to see it succeed. They're planning on going to get manufacturers who are going to produce hundreds of thousands of units and then distribute those across the entire country to sell them in large box stores so they can make money back. Scrub Daddy is a great example, and I personally do like Scrub Daddy. It's not an affiliation, but would be a good example of this. What I'm proposing today is something that is completely different than what we typically see. The business model I personally like comes from a book I found about 10 years ago called The $100 Startup. Now there is a second book called Side Hustle. I'll link both in the description so you can check them out. I would say the author's last name, but I don't know how to pronounce it, but his first name is Chris. The whole premise is that it shouldn't take a lot of money to start a business. He's proposing it takes $100, but I think for a 3D printing business, $500 will get you there. The whole pitch is that it doesn't take finances as a resource, but instead your creativity should be the resource on what drives the business. The other main difference between the traditional business models and what I like to run and what I do here with my business is that finances are a risk in business. If you go out and get hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of loans from a bank or other investors, that in many cases is a financial burden that you have to repay in some capacity to the bank or those other people. That puts a lot of stress on you, and stress never does anything good for people. What I'm proposing here is you go out, save up $500, go work at your local supermarket, go clean people's driveways in the winter, go mow some lawns, and save up $500 to get yourself your first 3D printer. We'll talk more about that exactly a little bit later. But once you do that, you can build a sustainable business where the only time you need to expand is when you actually have the orders and you have the business coming in and you have the money in your bank. This will allow you to grow at the pace of the growth of your business, not outpacing yourself, not putting a financial burden on yourself. And if all things fail, which they could, to be really honest with you, you're not out on the street because you didn't invest everything you had into it. Now, just because you're not investing all your finances into one basket, you can do that with your creativity. Now, the last part of the mindset before we dive over into tools, skills, and the actual execution of this business model is the thing that's going to be hardest for everybody. And it's still difficult, and I struggle with it sometimes too. And that is understanding that this process is not fast. It takes a long, long time. So you have to be patient. And then the other piece of it is it's not glamorous. You're not going to be out there popping champagne bottles or whatever you do. You can have your wins, you can celebrate your wins, but then you have to get back right to work on the business. The last thing, which is a recommendation for everybody, is I started this business with a full-time job that was able to support my family. If you're able to do that, I would 100% recommend you do it. You can do this type of thing in the evening. You can grow it into something and learn the skills that you need while having a full-time income that supports you. Again, reducing risk even further until you're ready or have the business that can actually support your family. Now, a few months ago, earlier this year, I got let go and I've been without a job per se for that time frame. I've been very fortunate to have some really great partnerships with this that I've seen business pick up on the 3D printing side. And then also just as an update for everyone who watches my channel, I did actually get another part-time consulting gig with a startup out of Chicago doing some robotics things. Pretty cool. But now I have some more work that can help me support that. And the nice thing with that is it's part-time because this channel and my business is growing so much that That's the time that I had available. That's the not so fun part, but I think if you can really understand that what you see online about making money super quick and you're gonna be a millionaire by the end of the year, don't listen to it. Throw it out of your head. I mean, if that happens to you, fantastic. I'll be the first one cheering you, giving you a high five. But if you can not go into it with that's the expectation, you'll be in a much better place as things grow slowly. All right, some of you are probably like, yada, 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 stop talking and tell me how to do it. All right, we'll talk about how to do it. The first thing you're gonna do is to have some skills. Get yourself a 3D modeling software. Now, I've got a list of them here, but what I'm gonna actually request is for all of you who are already a little further down the road, if you could please comment down below a bunch of different 3D modeling softwares, parametric or mesh space or whatever you like to use, drop it down below so those who are looking for some types of resources can scrub through the comments and find what works for them. I use Shaper 3D, not sponsored or anything. It is a paid software, that's the downside, but you can use FreeCAD, you can use Blender. There's a bunch of really great options out there. You can use Tinkercad, but get yourself a 3D modeling software. If you're gonna be doing 3D printing, you have to know how to 3D model. Like if you really want your business to succeed and grow and be the most creative it could be, you need to start learning how to 3D model, and that's the first skill. And good news, that's something you can do in the evenings. The only other skill, which really isn't worth talking about too much, is just having an open mind and being curious. You're gonna have to learn a lot of things, so just understand there's gonna be frustrations with that. But if you like to learn new things, business and entrepreneurship is the right track for you. Next up is the machine that you're gonna need. This thing is gonna make all the products that you sell and make you the money, right? So you do not need to start out with a Bamboo P1S or some bigger, fancier printer. That is not where I started. This was my first start to the business, the first printer I bought for the business, and was only like $200 at the time. You can still pick these up on sale right now for less than 250 bucks. I am not sponsored by Bamboo. They just work good, and if you want a machine that you can just plug a model into and get a product off the print bed, this is the one for you. The next investment you're gonna need to make is in some filament. Now, I almost exclusively print in just basic PLA. I buy mine from Bamboo because I just do, but all the brands are fairly competitive with each other, so don't feel bad if you just order off Amazon or directly from somebody else's website. What I would recommend when starting off is just printing in single color. That will save you a lot of headaches. Doing the multicolor stuff is really cool, but the AMS unit, being able to put on multiple rolls onto a printer, its real value is not the multicolor printing, because there's so much waste that comes with that and increased print times. It's the ability to use an entire roll and then switch over to a new roll automatically mid-print. I can hear a lot of you saying, I bought a 3D printer, I can do a little bit of 3D modeling, but what do I even make and sell? And the good news is this is where your creative juices come in. I've got a little worksheet that I put together, and I actually have this for access on my Patreon if you're interested, along with other worksheets that I will be uploading as the months go on. But this idea launchpad is what I do in my day-to-day to help me come up with new product ideas. And the first thing I like to do is list all of the things that have annoyed me multiple times throughout the course of the week, because I find that if you solve problems are something people are willing to pay for. And if you have a problem, that is something that somebody else for sure has a problem with. Quick side tangent here, but I just want to talk about why I chose 3D printers over something else for a business. And for me, it was the flexibility. This is a really unique tool that allows me to design a whole slew of different products, all different categories. And essentially the tooling, which means like the machine itself, never has to change. Unlike traditional manufacturing methods, there's a lot of setup and process and thousands of dollars that go into even making something as simple as a Frisbee disc. This tool allows me to design a whole bunch of things without having to spend any of that money, which means I can solve problems that no other big company can. That is what we call blue ocean space. It's another book you can check out and read, and allows you to serve people and sell in areas that there's less competition. Now, by this point, I'm sure you've already paused the video, you've gone and designed an entire product, and now you're like, Chris, what do I do with this product? And this is what I think you should do. Number one, identify a good platform for you to sell it on. My personal choice is still Etsy, despite all the drama and everything that comes around that. If you're designing your own products, you can sell that wherever you want because it is your own original idea. eBay would be another good area, or if you really so choose, you could get onto something like Amazon Handmade. A lot of people will say, well, why don't you just sell on your own website? And while I think that is a noble cause and you should definitely set up your own website to sell your products, it is going to be a lot harder to make those initial sales because the difference between setting up a website and using a tool like Etsy is you have no customer base on your own website. Etsy is a search platform that already has an existing amount of customers, and when you sign up for their tool, you're basically saying, hey, I would like access to your customers, and that's what you pay for with all the fees and extra stuff that comes with Etsy. Fantastic. You've set up your shop and you've picked the platform that you want to sell on. Now what do? Well, you've got to get some photos up and you've got to create a listing. This is where another assumption of this entire business model comes in. If you're watching this, you probably have access to a phone or something that can take photos. Again, light is your best resource, and thank goodness every day, at least I hope, the sun comes out, which has a lot of light. So when it comes to taking photos, do it during the daytime, do it near a window, try to use as much natural light as possible, and that will get you some good images. The camera quality is dependent on the light more so than the size of the sensor or how expensive your camera is. Once you got some initial photos in, you can start creating your listing on Etsy. The last big question of this is price. How much do you sell your product for? And I'm going to be releasing a future video on exactly how I price my products, so feel free to subscribe and follow along for that. But what I would say is the target you should be shooting for is $10 of profit per sale. This product, this printer, is only $250 not on sale. If you can make $10 per sale, it will only take you $25 to pay back this printer. This is where the entire business model gets really great, is it creates a sustainable foundation for you to grow slow with your business. Now that you've got products and you've kind of got an understanding of how to do things and you've got your first listing up, if your product doesn't sell, just make a new product. Again, the tooling doesn't change, but your creativity can drive your business forward. Continue to list new products, continue to experiment with pricing and photos and listing descriptions and everything else until you find something that sticks, and then double down on it. These little printers can do a lot of work. They still are workhorses for me, even in my business. Now, I'm intentionally leaving some stuff out because I want you to stay focused on a minimum viable product for your business. I know I'm going to get questions about, well, how do I ship products? How do I pack products? And all these other things. And my answer is, you don't need to know. If you've not sold a single thing yet online, you don't need to know how to ship it, because I didn't when I started. All you need to know is how to get your first sale, and once you get your first sale, you can figure out the rest. I'll make this commitment to you. If you make a sale and then you go, Chris, you never told me how to do those things. How do I package? How do I ship? And all that. I'll put a video out to help you guys out to make sure that you can understand some of the nuances of the rest of the process. But again, it's not that hard, and some of the platforms like Etsy and eBay, they really walk you through the whole thing step by step. Again, they're in it to make money too. So if they don't help you out, they're going to lose their own customers or their sellers on their platform. Everything we talked about today is how to start a business with very, very little money and at very, very little risk to your personal finances, to your well-being, to put you in a good spot for you and your family. Grow as your business grows and focus on your creativity, not the cash that you can pump into a business. If you stay true to this model, and also check out the video I did called Profit First, which I can put a link in the description or up top here, it will be in one of those. It talks about how you should pay yourself. Make sure that you also get money and don't miss out on the taxes. That's all in the separate video. Thanks again for sticking around. I really appreciate you, everybody. Business on my end is going good. I just wrapped up July. We doubled our sales from the previous month, and we are on track for a good rest of the year. Look forward to seeing you on the live stream next Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube, and a video next weekend. Thanks again. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, enjoy the nice weather.